What's up, guys? On today's episode, we're working on this 1991 Audi 200 Turbo. Now, there's only about 1,000 of these made. If you can see already just from there, I polished this section. And today specifically, we're talking about dirty paint. What does that mean? And or faded paint. So how am I going to approach the paint without damaging it further? That and a lot more coming up on this episode of Drive and Protect. Okay, let's talk about something that I call dirty paint. Now, this is basically a form of residue. Now, that's a very popular word. Basically something that comes off the paint, jams into the pad, and it's what we have to think about when we're polishing and really what causes us to have to add more liquid, blow out the pad more, that kind of thing. So let's dive into dirty paint. Now, if you can see here, the difference between the area that I haven't polished versus what I have polished, you can see there's a clear difference, a 50-50 shot, if you will. What I kind of determine in my mind as dirty paint is if I wash the car, which we did on this one, if I clay the car, which we did on this one, and prep the paint for going into surgery, meaning restoration, meaning I you know, as a person, I took a shower, I bathed, I did all the stuff I need to do before I go into surgery, right? You're nice and clean. I'm still gonna get dirt out of this paint. Why? Because it's faded and the pores are all open. And it's basically dried, nasty skin, you know, using a human analogy, and it's just got dirt that you can't get out of it. Now, here's a prime example. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick it up. This is a new pad, right? Straight out of the bag. And this is one that after just doing one pass. Now, the only way you can really see it is if I put the two of them next to each other. See how this one right here is a little faded? It's a little darker than the brand new one. Now, why is that? It's because I'm yanking out all the junk. Even though I clayed it, even though I washed it, I'm still yanking out this junk. So when I look at a car, I go, ooh, that's gonna be dirty paint. To me, that's a different type of residue that I have to manage. Now, if you see that 993, the really sweet one back there, the black one, that's gonna have residue too, but it's not gonna be dirty paint. It's just gonna be lots of clear coat coming off. Again, it's in the same genre as residue. I still have to control it, but I know that I'm gonna have to do two things. Blow out the pad a whole lot more here to stay clean. I'm gonna have to use a little bit more liquid, and I'm gonna have to use a smaller area to think about how to manage that residue. So keep that in mind, dirty paint versus clean paint. You still have residue coming off, but how do we manage that? Okay, now at this point in the episode, I'm just about starting the middle of the hood right now, and that's relevant, and I'll explain why. Now, to recap, I'm doing compound, the mow down technique, using extra compound, and of course, blowing out the pads like crazy. I did 3/4 of the car, it's working out perfect. But in this particular scene, I'm starting to wipe down the middle of the hood, and it's very sticky. So now I have to sort of go into like sticky protocol. Like, what am I doing? What do I have to change? Because clearly the ratio of what I'm doing, meaning how much liquid to how big of a space I'm working, and I'm blowing out the pad right now because I'm saying, what is going on, is not working. So in this case, I needed to switch to polish. And if you're asking yourself why, it's a good question, because I don't like to just switch. If there's a problem, oh, just switch to a different chemical. That's not it. In this case, I'm switching to polish for a very specific reason. I want to reduce the amount of cut because it's showing me here that as the amount that I'm cutting is too much. Too much stuff is coming off the paint, and it's overwhelming the pad, and it's overwhelming the amount of liquid that I've chosen to put on. So instead of me putting even more and more compound, why not skip that, go right to polish? It has a little bit more lube in it, which is good too. And you can minimize the amount of cut. So before, when the compound's coming off like this, now with polish, it's coming off like this. It's not coming off as much, so I don't have to deal with as much. Now when I go wipe this down, check this out. As I wipe it down, it's getting blotchier and blotchier. So after this step here is when I switch to polish. So I wanted to get this on camera and talk to you guys a little bit that if you encounter this, you could be walking and doing your thing and the car is going great 3/4 of the way through, and then bang, all of a sudden something changes. You have to notice that. And off camera right now, I'm switching pads, and I tried a couple of different things. Look at that, I wiped that down and it didn't even come off at all. And I also think, and this is just a hypothesis, hopefully you guys can chime in, I could be totally wrong here, but this is why we're having this dialogue, is the middle of the hood, sometimes I feel like it's a little bit different than the sides because the motor is right here, the engine right in the middle of it. So I think it's creating a lot of heat, and maybe that heat and cooling down, this is a question for Kevin Brown. As it's heating up and expanding and contracting, I think when I hit this little spot, it was kind of like I was walking along, and then I went into like quicksand, and that's why it became so blotchy. I don't know, hopefully leave some comments below, but I think I'm on to something there. So again, in this little section right here, I switched to polish and did the same exact thing. Used a bunch of polish, used the mow down technique, and then of course blew out my pads like crazy, and it worked perfectly. So anyways, I thought that was a fun little weird helping out a buddy here and polishing out his car. I thought you guys would enjoy that. Of course, if you have any questions, shoot me an email at larry@ammonyc.com. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time. All right guys, I'm doing a quick walk around. I know you like that. As you can see, there's the side that I didn't do. We're not quite finished yet, but I want to show you. We did about half of it. There's a perfect shot. Faded paint, better looking paint, but I'll give you a look at the rest of the car. It was completely trashed, and we're still, this is with no wax or anything. So it is much, much, much better. Let's see on this side over here. Very cool car, by the way. Very rare. Got to work on the interior, of course. But coming back, here's the paint, and then here's the bad paint. So I left a little bit there to show you that it is coming out significantly better. It's actually having trouble focusing, but you get the idea. Look at the light reflection there to there. So it does work. Keep in mind, if you have so much residue that 110 is cutting too much and too much residue is coming off, reduce your cut to 210, and it'll increase the lubrication as well, and you won't have any sticking issues. All right guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.